Welcome to your transformative politics program, politics and beyond. I'm your host, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., and I just want to say a good evening. It is always a privilege to have come your way every Monday. I look forward to it because it's an opportunity for us to discuss our own future and to discuss how best we can secure our future. We have just about 60 or so days to the general elections. And remember what I keep saying, governance is a serious business. You go into the elections 7th December to go and vote. The mindset shouldn't be that you are voting because you want a particular party to win, or you are voting because a particular party is going to lose. The mindset should be that you are voting because you are protecting your own future and you are securing your own future. And that is the reason why you must be informed on issues as you prepare to go and vote. And there's no other platform than this platform, Politics and Beyond. Last week, we had a very interesting and interactive program. It had to do with the galamsey. It means that all of us are crying because it is more like seeing death approaching every second. Every second. And it is approaching speedily. And so it is time for us to say we are taking our own lives into our own hands because the leaders and the individuals we thought they were going to protect us, it looks like they have failed us. And that's why today we are going to continue with the conversation. As always, you need to be, and you are going to be interactive with us using our social media platforms that we have as exhibited on the screen, including the WhatsApp number that we have on the screen as you can see it. Get interactive with us. Send your comments, send in your questions, and at the appropriate time, we'll get engaging. People may think that the issue of galamsey is just a noise making, but that is not it. If you go to Ghana Water Company, they will tell you that anytime they are harvesting water for them to treat and circulate to us for us to consume, in other words, when they go to the various river bodies or wherever the sources where they are able to harvest water, it passes through a process of treatment. And that process, the intention is that whatever particles are in it, whatever elements that are in it, which is not good for human consumption, they will be able to treat it. There's something called turbidity in the water. And the other day I mentioned it. The seriousness of galamsey, and that is what I'm telling you or talking to you about, because it is a threat to our existence as humans. The turbidity. Ghana Water will tell you that the average turbidity is supposed to be 200. And so they harvest 200 turbidity, then they treat it, and then they circulate for us to consume. As a result of galamsey, as we speak, Ghana Water tells us that the average, which is an expected turbidity, being 200 in water bodies that they harvest. Today, as we speak, as a result of galamsey, when they harvest the water for treatment, turbidity in it has moved from 200, not to 1,000, not to 2,000, but as high as 14,000. That is the reality. So 14,000, what it tells us is that if they needed a certain quantity of chemicals to treat the water, you can imagine, that is if it was at the level of 200. Now it is at 14,000. You can imagine what it means, the kind of chemicals they need, the quantity that they need. And the fact of the matter is that every chemical, whether we like it or not, has got its own bad side, its own harmful side. And so we are now in a dispensation where even waters that are being treated for us, we cannot secure or we cannot be sure of its safeness or safety. And no wonder, if you remember, the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana had a conference and told us that very soon they will be importing water into the country and they will be using the imported water to produce medicines for us. I'm not surprised about this because, see, if you also look at the Ghana Water itself, they tell us that between now and 2030, in other words, 6 years from now, If we do not take care and things go as it is, Ghana will have to import water for us to be able to drink. Importation of water for us to be able to drink. If you look on the screen, you will see what is happening. And this is water. Konongo. This is Konongo Water Treatment Center. Look at what is happening and see the quality of water that needs to be treated before you and I will be able to consume. You open the tap for you to be able to say we are taking water. As we speak, I can tell you on authority that about 90% of Ghanaians do not even trust the water that comes from Ghana Water Company. And rightly so. This is a treatment plant. Look at the water being treated. And so it's not a child's play. Now, the other thing that is even alarming has to do with organized labor. Just recently, they gave an ultimatum. And the irony of it is that whilst they were on it, within a span of 2 weeks, Ghana government led by the current president, the vice president, and the minister of water or mining, I mean, natural resources, decided that despite the calls that all of us are making, they will ignore and still be giving licenses. Within 2 weeks, they've been able to give 11 licenses for individual organizations or companies to go into the mining field, to go and mine. The impunity of it. But you look at it all, you analyze all of this and you realize that it is just because probably they have the intention of not or ignoring the life and the safety of you and I. And I'm not surprised. You remember, again, I made mention last week, and I'm still going to talk about it, because I believe strongly that if indeed Ghanaians are angry enough, and which I believe we are really getting angry, then some individual politicians should not be in a position of taking us for granted. A whole member of parliament representing a constituency in Ashanti region, a medical doctor for that matter, was bold enough to tell all of us that the galamsey, whether it is helping or it is not helping, whether it is killing or it is not killing, the MPP political party is not, or the government is not ready to stop the galamsey today or tomorrow. I'm sure we'll get his picture on the screen very soon. And I will be so surprised that constituents coming from that particular constituency will still be comfortable to elect this person to represent them in parliament. Because you see, if this is the mindset of such a person, it tells us how, or the kind of thinking that goes into policies that such individual in parliament will be influencing and championing. And you see, the reason why he made this comment, and I got information that he's not just a member of parliament, he's also the national campaign coordinator for Dr. Baumia's campaign. And so such an individual, who we are supposed to call honorable, at the end of this tenure, he's going to be giving ex gratia, using you and I, our taxes, to pay him. And the best he can do is that he does not care as long as his party is winning an election. Because the argument they make is that 2020, when they made an attempt to fight galamsey, it affected them. They lost a lot of seats in parliament. And so now it is a choice between human lives and whether or not they will want to win an election. Winning an election is the focus for them. And they want to win an election and make sure that, well, whether everyone dies or not, it is none of their business. I don't think that is where we need to go. And that's why I commend the various groups that, for the past weeks and coming days and coming weeks, I know that the fight is still on. Those that have come out, poured on the street, demonstrated, protested against illegal mining, against galamsey, I want to congratulate all of them. Fortunately, this coming Friday, that is a couple of days from now, 4 days exactly from now, we have another group that has decided to join in this fight. And I'm particularly happy because it is one group that I have in the past not been so happy with, because I believe that they have so much power and yet they fail to execute it. And I'm talking about the religious organization or the bodies that we have in this country. And that is why I was particularly so happy when over the weekend I read a release, or I got a copy of a release coming from the Catholic Church in Greater Accra, saying that they are going on a protest against galamsey. Quickly, Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana reached out to them, and we expressed interest in teaming up with them. And gladly they accepted it. And so this coming Friday, Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana, we are inviting all our members, registered members, affiliates, whether you are a member or not. We are inviting citizens, Ghanaians, to join us as we join the Catholic Church and other religious bodies. We are congregating this coming Friday at the Holy Spirit Cathedral, and we are going to join forces with the religious bodies, and we are going to march, we are going to protest, and all the way to the Flagstaff House. And that is why I'm particularly happy. And this very moment, I'm inviting you who is watching and listening. Don't think that the galamsey fight is just a child's play. And don't think that you are not in a mining community, so it's not affecting you. The truth of the matter is, in the mining communities, they produce the foodstuffs that they produce, they transport them to Greater Accra. So wherever you are in this country, you are at risk. And so don't think it's a child's play. Don't think it does not affect you. I'm not going to go into the birth defect that we are recording as a result of galamsey in this country. But the bottom line is, it is important for all of us to say that enough is enough, and we are not going to relax. We are not going to rest. We are not going to allow some few politicians to take us for granted. Our life is so precious. If at least they cannot govern and we are in hardship, at least they should spare us our lives. And that is what we are going to do. I will be calling or having a conversation with one of the speakers, or no, one of the organizers from the Catholic Church, a Reverend Father from the Catholic Church, to tell us a bit more about this pending protest. And so when we get him on the screen, we'll talk to him. But it is important for us to appreciate the fact that, as I indicated earlier, for us to appreciate the fact that we are all at risk. We are all at risk. We shouldn't just sit down and fold our arms. We are all at risk. I hope we are, my producers are still trying to get him, but when we get him, we'll have a conversation with him. Is he online?
No, not yet.
All right, so when we get him, we'll have a conversation with him. But I think what we need to do is that it is very, very important. As I indicated, look, we have T-shirts available. We have done all the necessary organization. This coming Friday, let us all meet at the Holy Spirit Cathedral. If you don't know the location, it's not difficult to find. Holy Spirit Cathedral is at Adabraka. You get there, just ask anyone. We are all congregating between 8 and 9. Latest by 10 o'clock, we start the protest. We start the march. And we are moving all the way from the Holy Spirit Cathedral. We have designated routes that we are using, and we'll be passing through all those routes, and we'll end up at the Jubilee House or the Flagstaff House, where we'll submit a petition to the president. And we are hoping that he will listen to us. At least for once, he will listen to us. After the petition, we'll move to Christ the King, which is just a stone throw from Jubilee House, where we'll go and pray to God and tell God that, God, touch the heart of the president and the vice president, so that they will see and hear the cry of Ghanaians. We are going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, I'll introduce to you the guest that I have, who is going to help us have a conversation, a deeper conversation on this issue of galamsey. Stay tuned.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to Accra.
Sure.
Emission, check.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much. Auto checks. Check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
Welcome back to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. I'm still your host, Emmanuel Wilson Jr. And as I said, we're talking about the galamsey menace. It's something that is affecting all of us. Fortunately, we have Reverend Nicholas on the line. And Reverend Nicholas is one of the organizers or leading faces of this coming protest, which is going to happen this Friday. As I indicated, it is not just for the religious bodies. It is not just for the Catholic. Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana, we are part of it, and we've agreed to bring in all our members. And that is why I'm using this platform to say that even you, the citizen, you are supposed to be there. Reverend, good evening and welcome to Politics and Beyond. Hello, Reverend. Reverend, can you hear me? All right, looks like we can hear. Reverend, can you hear me? Okay, so I think we are having some challenges. Reverend is not hearing me. So, I mean, again, as we indicated, this is the reason why all of us, we need to be available this coming Friday. But since we are not getting Reverend, we have a tape to play from Osaberima. I don't know whether the tape is ready. If it is ready, can we play that for viewers to also know what, I mean, the thoughts of this chief is?
Mekasa chere yen president, His Excellency Akufo-Addo. There, enough is enough. Them galamsey human there. Offer banning to do yentra homa yensu say. Yentra homa yen dachima wo me yensu nom. Yenisika yede be kran sufia brochira bagana. Enti enne pressman for ha. Won kade Osaberima Otibuko yes, offer embargo and to galamsey do. Say small scale man, no Sabado. Yes, you hear one fan call, no fan His Excellency President Akufo-Addo. There, concerned citizens now will show there. Yes, you say no one yatam for. With the immediate effect, one year bonnet. I dare say no coca, or they what you want. Or they what you want. And the pressure for one country and there or Sabarima or Tibuko say. One now where demonstration in there, yes, to say. Ojai one. What do you hear my home? Or what do you pa? First year nsua ya de kotu nsuma ade be chebe hu de anya koto no ene nsufin we ya de nsua kotu ma ye benya koto ye forest adanu meko heman kakum midru ho heavy rain onam forest na no ho nsupa na oroto ye ko ye nim kakra duru baabi na nsu na atew forest na ho ho and autumn attract my ensu auto. Oh, yeah, and then and all day you destroy your forest.
Well, so this is Osaberima Otibu. So religious organizations are talking. Organized labor is talking. We have the traditional leaders talking. And I don't see why the president the vice president, the sector minister, they've all decided to be adamant and they won't listen to anyone. So all that the chief was saying was that the water bodies are being destroyed for the sake of our lives and our existence. He's requesting that the president, the vice president, the sector minister will put a stop on galamsey. Will put a stop. And I'm saying that let's put a halt, not just on galamsey, because it looks like the issue has to do with organizing. We are not able to supervise. And so even those with legal mining or license, they are abusing it. And that is why for us to clean the system, we just need to put a stop on mining, small scale mining, so that we'll be able to put in the right structure and then continue. And that is all the Osaberima was saying, Osaberima Otibu was saying. Our guest this evening, we have Dr. Lord J.J. Gowans. Dr. Lord is a lecturer and a research, he's a lecturer and a researcher. He's with the Department of Biochemistry and Biotechnology, KNUST. He is our guest this evening. Because of this, and he's going to join us via Zoom. And so the very moment we get him connected, we'll zoom into the conversation. But whilst we try to get him, I don't know if my producer has the Mining Commission's engagement. The Mining Commission's engagement. If they have it, I want us to play that briefly. Then we get back to our guest for this evening.
Fundamental cause of illegal mining or galamsey, and please respectfully hear me out. I'll give you about 5 more causes of galamsey, but the main problem that is driving illegal mining is getting a place for the miners to work. Until that is resolved, we only go around in circles. So then I believe the question then is, how are we getting a place for them to work? 4 ways. 1, through the graciousness of the last gay people. So, Anglo Ashanti, Newmont, Go Foods and Co. give us a place, we license it for them. That's what we've been doing. Number 2, persons whose licenses have been cancelled for want of performance, we give it to them. Number 3, where by law, when you are giving an area to explore, let's say if you are giving 30 square kilometers and you are supposed to explore, after 3 years, you are supposed to give half back to government or back to the Minerals Commission, yes. So when those ones are returned, they come with what we call a surrender report. We give it back to the small scale people.
The summary of it all is that despite the call, Mineral Commission confirmed that licenses are still being given. And that is why I said earlier that even in the period where organized labor was crying and was giving ultimatum, we still had 11 licenses being issued within a span of 2 weeks. Reverend Nicholas, welcome to Politics and Beyond. Hello, Reverend. Rev, are you there? Okay, so it looks, Reverend, can you hear me? All right. It looks like we are still struggling to get Reverend. That's fine. So we will now switch to the guest that we have for this evening, because it is very important for us to go through some of the things that he has for us. So as I indicated, we have Dr. Gowans, J.J. Gowans, with us this evening via Zoom. Doc, welcome to Politics and Beyond. What's happening to my network this evening? So, Doc, can you hear me? All right, so it looks like I'm not getting Doc also on the line, but at the right time when we get all of them, we'll be able to have a conversation very well. Whilst we wait to get Doc, I would then want us to go back again to Minerals Commission's conversation because it did not end, and I thought we were going to have Doc on. Can we go back to the Minerals Commission whilst we wait to get our guests?
The fundamental cause of illegal mining or galamsey, and please respectfully hear me out. I'll give you about 5 more causes of galamsey, but the main problem that is driving illegal mining is getting a place for the miners to work. Until that is resolved, we only go around in circles. So then I believe the question then is, how are we getting a place for them to work? 4 ways. 1, through the graciousness of the last gay people. So Anglo Ashanti, Newmont, Go Foods and Co. give us a place, we license it for them. That's what we've been doing. Number 2, persons whose licenses have been cancelled for want of performance, we give it to them. Number 3, where by law, when you are giving an area to explore, let's say if you are giving 30 square kilometers and you are supposed to explore, after 3 years, you are supposed to give half back to government or back to the Minerals Commission, yes. So when those ones are returned, they come with what we call a surrender report. We give it back to the small scale people to explore. Let's say if you are giving 30 square kilometers and you are supposed to explore, after 3 years, you are supposed to give half back to government or back to the Minerals Commission, yes. So when those ones are returned, they come with what we call a surrender report. We give it back to the small scale people.
All right, so that is it. We are having some few technical challenges, and I'm sure it is being rectified for us to get to the main business for this evening, which has to do with our interaction with Dr. Gowans. We'll surely get to him. But whilst we work on that, I want us to also listen to a conversation or a communication from Otumfuo. That is the Otumfuo Osei Tutu.
This is Nwanya Abukodo Antimo. Na media me catch them say mo zanko din kwa memi achimu nyina egum na mo hwa dem so na cho say enne obetumo that this is na one na pan ene Abukodo Antimo mo tu ne not for mema monko mo for the somebody be mo from obetumo nyama gum mo galamsa mo ye nyina mo nko season nyina nem tu me no free mo nsati mo galamsa mo de tu mo ye na mo se se be ko ni mo ene tu mi ko de tu mo se be galamsa no ni nyina e fu mo nsa o di bra no de fu mo nsa de ya na mama nkrofo abanum su obatan wo kan na abeya sika wo penti so se be no am ensu a ya bo ho ka ama se be nu se be no mo to wo enom mo be sai no di no gum o wo se be wo ya fu ni sa bo penti anya nna ne ye be ka kire mi o se nye nna ene be ka kire no anya nna mi hunu ya che o se hunu ya che samo ya che so hunu samo ya che papa report de bra me sha so report de bra no ha wudin wom achame hene din wom ade wom nyina mudin wom so ta ya wudin wom achame din wom mo be ko ni wudin wom nyina mudin wom anya nne ni e be ka che nya ne be ka che no e ba ya che me saka e ba busu me be me ensa se 9 ni so ba ya che no ba busu be 9 mo ni busu 7 ni ne be ka che no enti me ma mutan wa mo bobokro no se de nti wo de ko nta se mo be ko su e ma no wa bobokro no no ono ana busu afọ ka chansa wo ye boni aye che o busu afọ se be e ka cho ya so ye boni aye menim de yakoso nyina so de yakoso na ana me bobo din amabo po no nyina ache mo o se ya mo bobo din amabo po na bo di ache mo na yo mo baba kwa ansa na afa akonwa no masi o se mo ansa na akonwa no masi Yamesa kache o monso ne se. Mo galamsa mo ye nyina mo nko season nyina nem tu me no free mo nsati. Mo galamsa mo de tu mo ye nyina mo se se de ko ni no. Ade tu mi ko de tu mo se de galamsa no. Ni nyina e fu mo nsa o di bra no de fu mo se de ya. Ade mo yeah friends assembly member no ne. Assembly member no. Unit committee member no. Yo baka. Empanyifo no eja wo hwane mo kan chem hwan mo de eyefa mo kan chem mo o se be fon de se ko na aka mo aka aye akwa mo yen ko mo aka nyina ene o mo fi akonwa nto ne enko
All right, so it has been fixed. Dr. Gohan, can you hear me? Dr. Gohan, can you hear me? Hello, Doc. Doc, can you unmute? Doc, can you unmute if you can hear me? Well, it is a bit unfortunate, but it looks like we are still struggling with the. It is being worked on anyway, but it looks like we are struggling with the net. But notwithstanding, we just listened to Otumfuo talking, and here, this is a leader, a decisive leader, chastising individuals, mentioning them by their names, and mentioning the fact that he's aware that they are engaged in galamsey, illegal mining, and the fact that it baffles him why these individuals will not listen or will not be touched by the fact that galamsey is affecting women, it's affecting children, unborn babies, unborn children, it's affecting men, it's affecting the society everywhere and everyone. And yet, because of money, they've decided to engage in it. And that is it. When you bring it up, all the way up to the national level, you realize also that because of power, political power, individuals want to win an election. Because of money that they make from issuing license. Because of bribe, corruption that they engage in. And so whether police service, whether military, whether governments, the president, the seat of the president, the seat of the vice president, the sector minister in charge of natural resources, because of what they will get. They've decided that they are not going to be interested in protecting you and I, but they've decided that they are rather going to, sell our future and our lives just for money. And that is where the whole problem is. And so if you saw or you listened to Otumfuo speaking, what he was saying was simply that it is heartbreaking. What he was saying was that it is, sad that individuals will sell the lives of their fellow colleagues or fellow human just for money. And that is where the problem is. Anyway, so it looks like we are still having some challenges. When it is resolved, we'll get back to the guest. But whilst we work on that, I think we'll have to go through some of the messages that we have, some of the engagement that we have, and I think we may open the phone lines for us to have an interactive conversation. We may. But let me quickly go through some of the messages that we have here from you, the viewer. This one says, my name is Honorable Indego from Ahafo and Southeast. Ghanaians will vote against this MPP Galamsey party. This one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. I want to ensure Ghanaians that MPP governments value their power more than people's lives. Whether they will stop or not, they will go opposition. Wicked government. Ghana never had. Okay, and this is coming from Suleiman. You didn't tell us where the message is coming from. This one says, good evening and thank you for the great job. It is sad and very unfortunate that this government only cares about winning seats. Clearly, they are power drunk and do not appreciate the fact that this galamsey menace poses an existential threat to all of us. Boss, it would interest you to know that 3 weeks ago, my wife's uncle lost his 11-year-old son, who fell in a galamsey pit in their neighborhood near Enyinem. This is how dangerous the issue has become. And I think the earlier we repeal that law that allows mining in forest reserves, the better. Because the rivers take their sources from the forest. NPP never again. And this is Mike Satellite from Amasaman. And that is true. I mean, that is the effect of it. You think that it is not affecting you because, you are far off. But trust me, it is coming closer. My condolence to you, Mike, and your family. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Thank you very much for your program. My contribution is, how can a whole government value their power more than people's lives? Indeed, MPP government is wicked government. Please, Ghanaians, let's vote them out of power. They are not ready to help this country. And this is again from Suleimana. Hello, Mr. Wilson. My name is Optimistic Diaper Dada. And good evening. This galamsey issue should be taken very seriously. Imagine your sister goes to labor and give birth with deformities. Even if I have millions, I still want to drink from my own source of water. Ghana is all we have. Thank you. Thank you too. Good evening. Bawumia is not credible. He cannot talk about the economy. He is now a midwife giving... Okay, Mr. Host. Did you know that Bawumia promised Ghanaians one district, one warehouse? Okay, the message is not so, but it says from Pizarro from Asherman. This one says, what at all does the so-called concerned labor union in Ashanti region, Kumasi, want to hear, see, and feel before knowing the menace of galamsey? Shameless, childish backsliding. You didn't add your name. The message wasn't so clear. Anyway, it says AOB, Barakesi. This president is not interested in the fight against illegal mining because he and his party people and his family members are involved from Marseille, Nawa. Okay. The level of incompetence of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia is just alarming. And for a country to go through all the mess in every sector of governance, their only focus is winning power to the detriment of the very people they begged for power. We have to wake up before leaders who are close to their graves kill us slowly for power. Galamsey must stop now. This is Nee Mensah at Spintex Road. Good evening, Wilson. Who is like Dr. Nkrumah? Oh, good evening, Wilson. Who is like Dr. Nkrumah? Selfless and lover of Ghana. Some elements within the MPP hate Ghana. Elements of the Nana Addo's faction. Looting Ghana has been their aim, and they saw Kwame as an obstacle. See what they are doing to Ghana. They are not even grateful to Ghanaians for giving them the opportunity to serve. See the arrogance and disrespect they have for Ghanaians. Just listen to the Mineral Commission boss. Because people have no work, they can poison our waters, and that is wise talk. This is Kipo Tuna from Savannah region. Hello, good evening, Wilson. I am Sir IB from Ejura, Sechedumase. Our president, Nana Addo, should have been impeached by now. We've given him the power and mandate to protect our natural resources and the environment, and he has failed massively. My greetings to my hard-working member of parliament. Okay, he says, hashtag stop galamsey now. Mr. Wilson, good evening. The corrupt NPP told Ghanaians that they have the men. They have the men. Little did we know that those men are destroyers and galamseyers. They have succeeded in polluting the water body and destroying the land for free. Fellow Ghanaians should be aware that the interest of this failed NPP government is about election and not the prosperity of Mother Ghana. Let's kick out NPP on December 7th, general election to save Ghana. Long live Mamprugu activists. This is Mashoud Ibrahim Bashila from Kanda, Accra. So, who do we have? A caller or the guest? The Zoom. All right, so let's go back and see if we can get it working. Doc, can you hear me?
Chief, I can hear you clearly.
Dr. Gowan, so welcome to Politics and Beyond. We've had some challenges, but I'm sure we'll be able to go through what we have so far. Doc, if you can hear me, let's go straight to it. This evening we are looking at, the menace of galamsey, and we are juxtaposing it to corruption, in its entirety. We always talk about water bodies, we talk about the effects of galamsey, defects, and all that. One thing that we fail to appreciate is the fact that galamsey is also destroying our environment. Now, with your background, I want to find out from you, and our viewers want to know, how does galamsey affect our environment, particularly our plants and our forests? And how does that in turn affect us as humans?
Okay, Chief, good evening to you and our cherished viewers. I'm grateful for having me around, and thanks to our viewers for staying with us. As you rightly said, galamsey, as we can see, is really destroying the environment. And when we talk about the environment, I think what people really concentrate on, we are just thinking about the aesthetics, the fact that galamsey is destroying the beauty of the environment. That is one issue, one big issue. But it's not just that. When it comes to us as human beings, we should appreciate the fact that we live in an ecosystem. And I'm sure about 90% of us, over 90% of Ghanaians are religious, and we believe that God created everything. So everything God created has a purpose. So everything in the ecosystem has a purpose. So I think I shared some pictures with you. I think on slide 4, for example, I just talk about, for example, the role of plants in the ecosystem. So if we pick, for example, what we call the carbon
slide
cycle.
4, if you have it.
If we talk about what they call the carbon cycle, so for example, we as human beings, when we respire, we bring out carbon dioxide. So that is something we don't want and we bring out. Now, what happens is that we release this into the atmosphere. And for example, if you are in a room and, for example, the room becomes concentrated with carbon dioxide, there's no way you're going to survive. So in God's wisdom, He created plants, for example, so that whilst we are releasing the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, the plants are taking up the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for us. So that is what is happening. We are releasing the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and then the plant is taking the carbon dioxide away. Now again, let's look at oxygen as well. We need oxygen. So whilst the plant is taking out carbon dioxide to make its food, it is also bringing out oxygen. And it is that oxygen that we also breathe in. So it's actually an exchange between us. We are bringing out waste, which is carbon dioxide, and the plant is taking up that waste, process it, make food from it, and release oxygen for us to take. And I'm sure we've seen people on their sick bed and how they are struggling to gasp for oxygen. But God, in His infinite wisdom, put plants there so that they will help us in that respect. Yet we think that we are wiser than God. And then we don't think about the environment and we are degrading. So when we talk about the galamsey issue, people should bear in mind that it's not just about the beauty of the environment. No. It is not just that we are poisoning the water bodies, which are serious issues. But yes, somebody have said that the day that the last plant dies, human beings are going to die as well. And this is the reason. Because we depend on plants to get the oxygen that we need. They are purifying the ecosystem for us. We talk about nitrogen that human beings are releasing. When we talk about the water cycle abilities, like the chief rightly said, we need plants in the ecosystem to keep the water cycle going. So you see, everything in the ecosystem has a role. God placed it there for a reason. So we as human beings cannot claim to do anything to the ecosystem and think that we are going to be well. Look at this here very well. I'm sure we've seen that the rainfall pattern has been very terrible. And it's because we are cutting down our forest. So let's pick, I live in Ashanti region. Go to Mansun Kwanta area and all the areas where galamsey is going on, and then just look at the environment over there, the kind of oxygen you breathe. Then the same Ashanti region move to Mampong area, where Mampong Hini says that we not allow galamsey. Go there and you see the environment. You could see there's different environment altogether. So what is happening is not just an issue of destroying the beauty of the environment. It is an issue that borders on our survival as human beings. And it's not just us, the plants, the animals around us. We all depend on the environment. We don't live in isolation. So that is how complicated the whole issue is. So we as human beings cannot be cutting down trees and think that we will survive forever. No, we will not survive forever. Because by cutting down trees, we are taking away the very oxygen that the trees bring out for us to breathe in. So that is how complicated the whole issue is.
There's this issue of heavy metals that, and we often make reference to mercury, and we say that there are heavy metals being produced as a result of the galamsey activities, and it looks like we are having it even in our foods. Is there any linkage? What are the effects of these heavy metals, and how does it really, should we really be worried? Because I know, for instance, where commentaries have come in and scientifically it has been proven that some time back, very recently, the cocoa that we were harvesting and exporting, they were rejected because when it was tested, they could find mercury in it, which is very harmful to the body. Now, the heavy metals we keep talking about, what is its effects on the food that we eat? How does it relate to the food that we eat?
Okay, so that is a very good one, Chief. Again, when we look at the heavy metals, I think again I send a picture on slide 5 where I talk about the heavy metal. Now we should in the gold extraction they are using mercury. We know cyanide, we know arsenic, for example. Let me concentrate on just mercury, for example. Now in biology or in the ecosystem, we have a concept we call the bioaccumulation and biomagnification. So in bioaccumulation, what we are saying is that, for example, when they are using the mercury, once mercury is dropped into the water, there are microbes or microorganisms, or what we normally say they are germs, but for example, the bacteria in the water that will convert the mercury to an organic for what we call the methyl mercury, which is very poisonous. Now, what happened is that this mercury, for example, is bioaccumulated. So bioaccumulated means that living things will pick up this mercury and store them within the living things. So if you pick the water bodies, for example, being polluted with the mercury, then there are smaller plants in there. Those plants are going to pick up the mercury and store them. We should remember that the fish in the water usually feed on those smaller plants. So they are also going to also feed on the smaller plant. Remember, the smaller plant is very small. It's going to pick up just some few mercury. The fish is going to eat up many of the smaller plants. So the fish is going to have more of the mercury. And then there are bigger fishes that may eat the smaller ones as well. And then there are human beings that we also harvest the fishes or the fish and then eat as well. So what happened is that every organism within the water body is actually accumulating their mercury. And then everyone, if you are that's what we call the food chain. So as I said, there are smaller plants there. These smaller plants are picking up the mercury. Fish will come and eat this smaller plant. That is the next level. Human beings will go and pick up the fish and we also consume. So what happened is that if the smaller plant has mercury, the fish consumes it, it becomes higher in the fish. We also will not eat 1 or 2 fish. We eat a number of them. They also get stored. So what we bioaccumulation, what we are saying is that each organism that comes into contact with mercury in the water is actually picking up the mercury. And then every higher organism that consumes the lower organism is also increasing the concentration of mercury in it, that organism. So we human beings, for example, we are the apex of the food chain. We consume fish, we consume animals, we consume so many things. In fact, research has shown that even the conglomerate that we fancy so much, if you pick the leaf, it can actually bioaccumulate heavy metals, including mercury. So if the food items, it's not just fish. So if there is a mercury mining field and somebody plants conglomerate there, somebody plant cassava there, or plant yam there, the yam is going to bioaccumulate the mercury, so that whether you live there or you don't live there, if you live in Accra, and then we bring this yam to you and you consume, you are actually consuming yam that is full of mercury, and this is going to have effect on your health. So the issue that we are talking about is not just about those living at the galamsey site. It is because of the scientific concept of what we call the bioaccumulation and biomodification. You don't need to be at the galamsey site to be affected, because the food items that we eat, a lot of them, you see the tuber that we eat are actually sinks that can pick up this metal and store it and be stored. And when you consume them, you also bioaccumulating it. So it's not just about the water, whether you drink it, some of the water or not. Remember, they use some of this water to irrigate our crops and all those things. So all these are avenues of bioaccumulating these heavy metals. All right, we are bioaccumulating this heavy metal. So it is not just about those living there. So as human beings, even if it was about just those living at those side, we should be worried about our brothers. But it's not just about them. I'm sure we've seen images of the ocean being polluted. For example, I saw Ankobra and then River Amanzuli, for example, in the western region, polluting the oceans. Now, these heavy metals are getting into the oceans. And it's not just about those living there. The fish around them are going to bioaccumulate them. It's not just about down the rivers. Fish in the oceans are also going to bioaccumulate those heavy metals. Okay. So no one is spared. No one is spared. So we should appreciate that. Now, mercury it's a very once become metal mercury is very toxic. So we say it's a neurotoxin. That is to say that we have neurons in us, and the mercuries can poison them. All right. So because once we get poisoned by mercury, so many things can happen. So many things can happen. Now, I'm sure we've heard documentary from our country where people have been complaining that they've been having skin rashes. Some of them take the infested water and then they get diarrhea. Some of them have respiratory distress. They cannot breathe very well. They struggle to breathe. All right. And these are signs of short-term exposure to mercury at high level. Now, in the long term, when even at lower level, as I said, you are accumulating it. And with time, you also get troubles. So, for example, you see them, with time, you use the mercury or you bioaccumulate and you see that your hands will be shaking. That's a muscle trauma. Your hands will be shaking. The person has behavioral problem because mercury is one of the metals. For example, once it becomes metal mercury, it's metabolized to that level. And for example, it gets attached to another amino acid we call the cysteine, for example. That structure becomes very troublesome that it can cross everything. It can cross even what we call the placenta and get to the womb and cause defect to the unborn baby. It can cross what inside we call the blood-brain barrier, which not many molecules actually cross, but the mercury can actually cross. And that is why that can lead to brain or neuro issues as well. So what we are talking of, I'm sure for a while when we're growing up, we never heard about this issue of strokes and disease that looks similar like stroke. But in our time, it is becoming so common because once the nerves are poisoned by the mercury, for example, you lose sensitivity. With time, your hands, your feet, you lose sensitivity. You are not able to talk. Your speech becomes slurred, for example. So I'm sure we've seen all these diseases. We've shown that mercury can also have cardiovascular effect. That is to say that it can have an effect on the blood vessels, the heart, for example, and that can lead to stroke, for example. The effect on the trouble we are giving to our kidneys, the trouble we are giving to our lungs, the trouble we are giving to our liver. I'm sure when we're growing up, all these chronic diseases were not very common. But why have they become so common in our system? It is because of our indiscriminate disposal of this heavy metal into our environment. So it is not just about you. If you have a sibling or a relative who is suffering from any of these conditions I'm talking about, you should be angry at what is going on in Ghana, because once people get exposed, you are also at risk. I mean, and these conditions, unfortunately, are not like infectious diseases that you can treat and they go. They are chronic. They stay with you forever. Is that the kind of country we want to build for ourselves? Killing ourselves, poisoning ourselves? So that is how terrible the whole issue is. And I'm so passionate about the whole thing. And I don't know why, as human beings, we will decide to do this to ourselves. And just a word of caution to those using the mercury. I've heard the galamseyers saying that they've been using it for a long while and they don't see any effect. And what I'm telling them is that what is happening is that they are bioaccumulating it. And when it gets to the threshold, or the symptoms that or the kind of signs that I've mentioned, the kind of disease I've mentioned, they should be sure they will also have their share. So that is how terrible the whole system is. So we should take this issue very seriously, wherever you find yourself. Remember also that river bodies also flow. So it's not only where they polluted it. If you are downstream, you also have an issue. We should remember that even if you've drilled borehole there, these water or heavy metal can seep into the aquifers or the waters in the underground, and they can pollute your even borehole as well. So no one is safe. No one is safe. And the diseases and the troubles I'm talking now about, they know no political colors. Once you bioaccumulate mercury, you get to the threshold, you are going to experience neurotoxicity. You are going to poison the neurons, and you are going to be in trouble. So please, let's put politics aside. Think about your health. Think about the mother of unborn children that have not been born yet, and because of indiscriminate use of these heavy metals in the name of mining, we poison them. I mean, we should behave as humans and then think about the others and think about the unborn as well. It still looks like we don't think about the living, let alone the yet to be born. So we should be very careful about this. And I'm very passionate about the whole thing.
That's really scary, but that is the fact. That is exactly as it is. Dwelling a bit, just a second or two, on these heavy metals. One of my ardent viewers wants to find out, and it's a question he posed. He actually told me to ask this question way before the program started, that as we speak now, Ghana Water Company tells us that the water that they harvest, the turbidity has risen all the way to 14,000 instead of the 200. He wants to find out, because he's worried whether or not you can say for certain that the treated water we are getting from Ghana Water Company, we are able to have it minus these heavy metals, lead, mercury, and whatever metal we may have found in it before the treatment.
So unfortunately, no. The sad thing is that our water treatment system that is in place is not set up to process or take away heavy metals. No, it's more of, if you visited them, it's more of what we call the alum, just to flocculate, to take away the silt that makes the water dirty. That is what they do. Then you could see that they pass it over some cascade in order to aerate, to make sure there is oxygen, the water get oxygenated. Then they add some disinfectant like chlorine to disinfect the water. That is basically what the water system is about. Our water system is not set up to take away heavy metals. So the water is just percolated away the dirt that we see. We add some chlorine to it. It is oxygenated to make it not smell and all those things. Once that is done, they pump it to us. So the water that we are taking, there is no guarantee that they've taken away the chlorine. They've taken away the heavy metal. No, they are still in there. So even if you get a processed water, don't think it looks clear. I've heard people say that they are going to buy chlorine tablet and add it. What a chlorine tablet does is to disinfect the water, kill the microbes in there. It doesn't take away heavy metals. If you go and add alum, what it does is to taking away the silt, flocculated silt, take it away. It doesn't take away heavy metal. The heavy metals are still there. And that is how serious it is.
That is sad. Look, Doc, just I have a question I needed to ask, but something just came up here. A message from one of our viewers, and the tester actually sent a picture, and I'm not sure whether we want to exhibit the picture on the screen, but it says, "Please, good evening, Mr. Wilson. This is okay. The name didn't come, but it says, I'm from Kumasi. Please, unless you help us, my nephew, who is only 1 month, is battling kidney problem. He is in Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, and we don't even know what the doctors are doing. Please, we need help." And the hashtag is Stop Galamsey Now. And then he goes further. The person, whether a male or female, says, when he urinates, it doesn't come out. And this is a 1 month baby battling with kidney. This is the reality. That is the sadness. And I'm sure it's as a result of mercury, which probably the mother consumed, which has had an effect on the child when the child was, in the womb. But Doc, the question I'm asking again is this. With all these things we've talked about, the galamsey issues and all that, how do we identify the players behind all these things? Because we need to identify the players, and we need to find a way of, naming and shaming them. How do we identify the players behind this? Doc, can you hear me? Right, so it looks like the how do we call it? Doc's line is gone off again. We were having an interactive and a very educative program, as we've always done, and I'm hoping that we'll get him back. Now, this one is fantastic program. I'm Wilberforce from Sefi, Asawinso. The arrest of the innocent citizens who decided to embark on a peaceful protest against the misrule of the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government this week is not only unlawful but shameful and backward. There cannot be any place for this odious abuse of fundamental human rights in any democratic country governed by the rule of law. Hash votes for JDM on December 7th. He's number 8 on the ballot paper. And then he goes on to say, Honorable Kofi Bentel. Okay. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Wilson, and thanks for your good work. Nana Addo's government is sacrificing Ghana slowly because I promise you that Ghana will sacrifice them first. Okay, Paul, I didn't get the latter part of your message, but thanks anyway for sending in. This galamsey matter is getting worse day in and day out. And Akufo-Addo seems to be okay about this. But a day is coming where all those supporting this NPP government will cry with us. Just yesterday, I buried my brother due to galamsey. We better fight together and rescue this country from NPP. History will judge NPP for the damages they have caused this country. Hashtag Engineer Seyram. Please, Mr. Wilson, good evening from Kumasi. Please, okay, so this has to do with the nephew who is 1 month old. All right, so it's a man who sent it. Okay, yeah. Wilson, do you know River Densu and Wager Dam have also been affected by the galamsey pollution? Yes, Yes, that is the sad part. I know very well. Nobody in Ghana is safe now as we also continue to consume foodstuffs, etc., from these mining areas. And this is Nee Mensa at Spinter Street. Exactly what Dr. Gowans was saying. You know, we are no more safe. Even the foodstuff we are consuming, it is affected. A 1-year-old child battling with kidney as a result of galamsey, heavy metals. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Akufo-Addo and Bawumia have damaged Ghana, and I wonder why this government is still campaigning for another power. They should rather apologize to Ghanaians during their campaign time. Bawumia is going to lose. My name is Amwa from Kumasi, Pankrono. From Sami Donko, from Takrade, Politics and Beyond. The late Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah continued to reign, though dead. In his wisdom, he banned surface mining. The so-called experts who impressed upon late JJ to lift that ban must bow their heads in shame. Osajifo knew Ghana and Ghanaians better than all of us. Nkrumah never dies. It's true. Very well. This is Sammy. Sammy, thank you so much for your message. You cannot eat your cake and have it. The president and his ministers and all his appointees have eaten their common sense and so therefore do not understand what galamsey is doing to us. They need our voices and actions on the streets for them to get back their common senses. Woka Daniel from Zanlerigu, Upper East. And then we have Amase Na. Okay, the president doesn't care about it. I've read that one. Before Ghana will be safe, all the Chinese should pack their machines and go. Akufo-Addo has sold even all lands that have their gold. Message not so clear. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, we started galamsey way back in 70s at DwaboAse. What we normally do is to go the old pitches the Ashanti gold has dug with our pickaxes and shovel to also dig. But what they are doing now is destruction of the environment. There are a number of messages coming. Forgive me, my time is up. Let me say, Mr. Wilson, good evening. My name is Kweku Addo. No, he said Mr. Kweku Addo is very, very wicked. Well, old man. I don't know whether you are referring to Akufo-Addo, but I would suggest that he should be arrested and the polluted waters is fetched for him to drink only a cup. He will come back to his senses and act well like a leader. Thank you. And honestly, let me apologize for the bad words that has come up. Yes. And then, I mean, we really were going to have a very interactive and very educative program. Unfortunately, the internet did not work for us right from the beginning. And so we apologize for that also. And we'll have another conversation to see if we will need to bring Dr. Gowans back on the show, because what we were getting from him is really educative and priceless. And so, Dr. Gowans, if you are watching us, we are also apologizing for the bad connection or connectivity. We are apologizing to you, the viewer, also for the bad connectivity. Let me just read a very last message. I mean, there are thousands of them coming in. There's no seriousness in this country. You want to stop galamsey, and there are no job opportunities. I can't think far. Youth are sitting at home with degrees and diplomas with no job. Come on. What should they do to survive? I'm not in support of illegal mining, but the fact that there are no jobs, we find a way to survive outside stealing. MPP and NDC are both mismanagers of our economy. No human mercy. God is watching them. By Canadian citizen, Garu, Upper East. I don't know if you really understand the message you yourself you sent. But what you are trying to say is that because there's no job, we should be killing ourselves. That's exactly what you are saying. If you don't appreciate the effect of galamsey, and you can equate it or reduce it to the fact that because the youth do not have jobs. And so a 1-month-old child should suffer kidney, and you are okay with that. The name again is what? Canadian citizen. I don't think that's even your real name. But I think this is quite an unfortunate message. Anyway, all too soon, we've come to the end of the show. We've actually gone beyond, and it was because of the hitches that came. The messages that have come, I promise you, we are going to continue from there next week on our next episode. And hopefully, we may have Dr. Gowans back to us for us to go through the conversation properly. Remember, this program is going to be repeated this coming Wednesday on this same platform, TV XYZ, at exactly 11 a.m. And don't also forget that this coming Friday, we are all congregating at the Holy Spirit Cathedral, where we are joining forces and we are going to protest. We are marching right from there all the way to the Jubilee House. Come to the Holy Spirit Cathedral. Be there. I will be there by 9 a.m. When you come, look for me. Let me know that you got in there because of politics and beyond, so that together we can save our own future and save our own life. Till we meet again next week, I am still your host, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., and all I can say is good night for now.